Dear fellow truth seekers, thank you and welcome for visiting my channel, MythoReligio. MythoReligio is a series of books about religious comparison studies between the stories in Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Hinduism and Buddhism, directly from their sacred books and world mythologies, hence the name MythoReligio. The purpose is to retrace the prehistory of humanity, since I am not fully satisfied with either the explanations from the point of view of creationists nor evolutionists. There are so many missing links in both explanations. If you feel the same, then you are on the right channel. In this book series, I will also analyze about the prehistory of humanity from the archaeological records, modern scientific point of view, and other alternative theories, such as the ancient alien theories and Atlantis or Lemuria legends. After thorough research of circa 30 years, I recognize many similarities between all religious stories and even mythologies, and surprisingly, some of them are in accordance or even beyond modern science that have been proven as correct. Thus, I came to the conclusion that all religions must have come from the same source. And all these religious stories and mythologies, although heavily jumbled up, are actually telling one mega story, the true prehistory of our common ancestors. This mega story is quite different than what we have been told to believe and will truly blow your mind, as it is more fascinating than our imagination. If you have watched the earlier videos in this channel, I believe you can see some of the similarities too. If you haven't and you truly want to do a religious comparative study, I suggest that you do so. The best way to do a comprehensive religious study via this channel is by watching the videos starting from number 1 and continue until this present video and so on. That way you will see a clear pattern. For deeper analysis that I cannot share in this platform due to its sensitive nature that leads to the above conclusion, kindly read the books that are available in ebook format that can be found in my website www.mythoreligio.com or the physical books at Amazon in color or black and white version. Dear fellow truth seekers, in this video I'm sharing the 11th video of MythoReligio series. This is a replacement video of the original video number 11 concerning the story of King Solomon that I had to take down due to copyright issue of the background music. Therefore, this video is not arranged in a proper numbering sequel. Now let's begin with the story. After the death of David, Solomon took his father's place as king. Solomon had an affinity with the Pharaoh of Egypt and married Pharaoh's daughter. Solomon loved God, and he made 1,000 burnt offerings to God. Then God appeared to him in a dream, telling him to ask something from him. Solomon asked for wisdom to judge rightly among his people. God was pleased with his request, because he didn't ask for richness or a long life for himself. Therefore, God granted him wisdom as well as richness and honor like none other. Solomon ruled over all Israel and Judah. The people of Judah and Israel became as many as the sand by the sea. They lived prosperously and safely. Solomon reigned over all the kingdoms from the river to the land of the Philistines to the border of Egypt. He became very wealthy. He did prosperous commercial trades with many kingdoms and accepted Levite tributes from many. He spoke 3,000 proverbs and knew 1,005 songs. He could speak to trees and all kinds of beasts. His wisdom was famous throughout the world, and people came from many places to seek his wisdom. Temple of Solomon. 480 years after the children of Israel went out of Egypt, Solomon began to build the house of the Lord at circa 966 BCE. Hiram, the king of Tyre, today Lebanon, sent his servants to King Solomon to supply the timber to build a temple for the Lord. The temple was made of cedar and fir. Inside it was overlaid with pure gold. It took 7 years to build, and after the completion of the temple, all the Israelites assembled for 14 days' feast. They sacrificed an untold number of sheep and oxen. The priests brought the Ark of Covenant into the most holy place of the house, under the wings of the cherubims. Inside the ark were placed Moses' 2 tablets of stone. Then Solomon stood before the altar of God, saying, Lord God of Israel, there is no God like thee, in heaven above or on earth beneath, who keeps covenant and mercy with thy servants that walk before thee with all their heart. Solomon continued, The Lord has said that he would dwell in a dark cloud, because the house of God cannot contain him. Yet all Israel must face to the house of God while doing their prayers. Apart from the temple and his palace, Solomon also built the wall of Jerusalem and several other cities. All the survivors of their enemies were made into bondmen. Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. Solomon's fame brought the Queen of Sheba. The location of Sheba is still disputed by scholars. It was probably either Yemen or Ethiopia, to visit Jerusalem with many camels bringing spices, gold, and precious stones. After witnessing Solomon's wisdom and Solomon's palace with her own eyes, she was impressed and gave him many gifts. Solomon also gave gifts to her from his bounty, and Queen Sheba returned to her country. Note: the Book of Kings does not hint of love or sexual attraction between Solomon and Queen Sheba. The two were depicted merely as fellow monarchs engaged in the affairs of state. However, in the Song of Solomon, some references have been interpreted as referring to love between Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. King Solomon loved many women. He had 700 wives and 300 concubines, including the women from the enemies of the Israelites. These were the nations that God already warned the children of Israel not to marry, since they would turn their hearts after their gods. Sure enough, when Solomon was old, his wives turned his heart to other gods. He built high places for the gods of his wives, which made God angry and stirred several adversaries against the united kingdom of Israel, which was broken into 2 fragments, but only after Solomon died of natural causes at the age of 80, after reigning for 40 years. Herewith ends the story of Solomon. Kindly watch video number 12 to continue with the story of the 10 lost tribes of Israel. Thank you for watching and hope to see you on my next video.